All right. Welcome. I I'm Annie Archer-Byerley. It's lovely to meet you. And I am not entirely sure that we are live yet, so I'm just going to see. If anyone's here, please let me know. LinkedIn is showing me that the event's going to start soon. Um, Great, wonderful. So think I think we're here now. Okay, great. So I have just discovered that my LinkedIn is on a little bit of a time delay. So you've just seen me actually model this topic, which is good stress and growth zones. We'll get into it in a few minutes, talk about what's important about it, why, what all this stuff is, and why exactly I say that I am modeling this topic for you today. But I wanted to just start out with a question for you. When's the last time you felt nerve-sighted? So, what we mean by nerve-sighted is a combination of being nervous and excited at the same time. And this is a term that I won't say I stole it, but I borrowed it from an article I read about children auditioning for the Metropolitan Opera Chorus in New York. And one of them talked about being nerve-sighted. She was nervous about the audition, she wanted it to go well, but she was also really excited about the prospect of joining this chorus and being part of the opera, excited about the outcome. So, if you're here with me live, I would like to invite you to drop your answer in the chat if you're comfortable having that be a comment on our event. Please feel free. And if you're watching it later on a delay, I'd encourage you to pause for a minute and just think about a time you felt nerve-sighted. I'll I'll give you a minute to think through that and share your answer if you'd like. Right. So I am watching for comments. This being my first live, I am not entirely sure if things are coming through or not. Um, but whatever your answer is, I hope you're able to think of a time when you felt that way. And I can give you one of mine. There are many times in my life where I have been nerve-sighted, but I think this is clearly the most recent time. It's something that I'm doing for the first time. It's something I'm very excited to do. I'm excited to share this topic with all of you. I'm excited to try out a new format of sharing information and of training. Um, but learning a new platform, going through a new process, all of the attendant kind of wondering if anybody's going to show up and that sort of thing, um, that's a little bit nerve-wracking. So there are many situations that can give us this feeling of nerve-sighted, um, and that's mine for today, and I hope that you've been able to find one to reflect on yourself. So, with that in mind, I should probably give you the proper introduction and let you know why we're here. My name is Annie Archer-Byerly, and I call myself an anti-corporate career and leadership coach and trainer. And what that really means is I am here to bring you all of the learning and development opportunities you'd get in a large corporation, but you don't need the large corporation to be able to access them. So I think of this as my non-corporate lunch and learn, something to make your sad desk salad a little bit less sad, or maybe we should say a little bit happier. And the plan is to do this every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. So anyone who would like to come and learn about whatever work and leadership topics we're discussing that day, you're welcome to do so. And there's also a replay that's available after. So What we'll be doing today, we'll be covering our topic. I'll have some things to talk through, some examples of my own to share. Anyone who's attending live can use the comment feature to answer some of the questions that we pose throughout the session, and I will monitor that. Um, so please note this is being recorded. Anything you put in the comment section will live on LinkedIn as a normal comment on a post. So make sure that if you're sharing, you're comfortable. And if you want to just kind of go through, think of things to yourself throughout the session, take some notes, treat these questions as journaling prompts, you're welcome to do that as well. So let's talk about good stress. And I'm just going to check if we've got any comments or anything before I move on. Okay. So, most of the time when you hear the word stress, it has bad connotations, right? Stress is difficult. Stress is a situation that makes you sweat. It can be overwhelming. But there are actually a few different types of stress. There are stresses that you can tolerate easily. Maybe it's family coming over for dinner, right? And it's a little bit stressful, but you know you'll get through it. There are stresses that are toxic that can totally overwhelm what you're doing, kind of knock you out of resources, set you back for a while. So, those are kind of stresses like perhaps job loss or an illness. But there is a good type of stress. It's called eustress, literally good stress. And that is the feeling we described earlier, the feeling of being nerve sighted. So, it is the kind of slight thrill and terror combination that you get when you're doing your first live. It's the feeling of meeting a new friend for coffee. It's going to a networking event. It's learning a new hobby. It's taking a new route home from the grocery store, right? Any of those things can have a combination of kind of this, what if it goes wrong feeling, and also the, oh, but what if it goes right? So, what's important about this type of stress and being aware of it? And if you're watching, you can take a minute and kind of pause and think about that. Because it's a kind of stress that we don't think about every day, but then when somebody points it out to you, you realize it is kind of everywhere all the time. So, the thing that's important about this kind of stress is that it can help you learn and grow. So, once you have accidentally taken that wrong turn out of the grocery store parking lot and decided not to do the U-turn and try to get back to your normal route, you just take the street that you happen to turn down because you think it's going to get you where you want to go and you're pretty sure that it will, right? That becomes a learning experience. That becomes a way to grow instead of kind of a big and difficult experience. That's what we're talking about with good stress is being able to use those experiences to grow. You can think about it as learning to cope with difficulty or expanding your window of tolerance, if that's a term you've heard before. So, next, kind of speaking of the window of tolerance, I'd like to introduce you to something that is called the growth zone model. You may also have seen this called the learning zone model. Um, it may be kind of the window of tolerance, if you've seen that. Um, sorry, I'm just kind of checking the comments just to make sure. I'm just going to pause for a second. Um, Normally, I love kind of a very interactive class and a very interactive environment. So part of my growth for today is getting used to monitoring for comments, um, kind of seeing if anybody's around and where. So I'm just pausing again just to make sure if anybody's got thoughts, questions, etc. We have covered those. Okay, let's get back to the growth zone model. So There are three components to this model, three zones: your comfort zone, your growth zone, which you may have heard as your learning zone, and also your panic zone. So we'll talk through those. Your comfort zone is exactly what it sounds like. You're comfortable, you're chilling out, you haven't made the wrong turn out of your grocery store parking lot, you're in the live training environment that you're used to seeing and working in, you're sitting on your couch watching TV, knitting a sweater, if that's what you're into, right? These are things that you do every day. They feel normal, easy to do, calm. That's kind of your standard resting phase where you are most of the time. Your growth zone is where you learn new things. It's where that good stress sits. That's where it's a little bit exciting, but nothing's going to be overwhelming or terrifying. Your panic zone is when everything gets to be too much. That is the internet goes down while you're streaming. That is, you take the wrong turn out of the grocery store parking lot, you get completely lost and your car breaks down. That's kind of the toxic stress. That's the sort of experience that sends you back. It's very painful. It can shut you down. Like it's actually the sort of wide eyed kind of panic version of this. So, in an ideal world, we spend most of the time in our comfort zone, just kind of hanging out, existing. But getting into the growth zone or the learning zone is really important. It's a way to step a little bit closer to doing something new, kind of intentionally. So, in order to really learn something new to kind of cement it, you need a little bit of what psychologists would call arousal. So, it's a little bit of an energy, it's a little bit of a heightened awareness. It's that nervous excitement that you feel. So, by stepping from your comfort zone into your growth zone and spending time there, you're able to kind of pick up and learn that you can do new things. Um, that, kind of you can fail in small ways and still recover. So the panic hasn't shut you down. You're not totally coasting or cruising. You're in this learning environment. So I've spent quite a few minutes talking. I am going to pause and have a sip of my coffee. I'm going to check the comments just in case anybody's here and talking and has questions. But whether you're live, you're watching recorded, I have a question for you now. Um, what do you do to get in your growth zone? What are the kinds of experiences that get you there? I'm guessing the feeling of being nerve sighted that we talked about in the beginning is one of those experiences that puts you in the growth zone. So here's my next question for you. Next thing to comment on, next thing to think about. When you were in that growth zone, how did you cope? So, how were you able to work through the stress part and the nervous part of this experience to get to the kind of excited learning phase on the end? I'll give you a minute to think about that too. So, I can tell you mine. I have clearly been live demoing Growth Zone and alluding to it throughout our time together. Part of the reason I picked this topic for my first live was that I knew if something went wrong, um, if nobody turned up, if there were no comments, if I totally couldn't figure out this new platform that I'm using, I knew I'd be able to kind of point to it and talk about live demoing this topic, and hopefully be able to kind of give y'all a lesson, something to think about with it. So, the way I've thought about kind of being in the growth zone for this is to put myself in a place where I am supported, where I already kind of know a little bit about how these things work, and where I'd just be really excited if this goes right. Um, so I actually have a few points here about how you can safely venture into this growth zone. So the first thing is to choose an activity that is a little bit of a stretch. It should feel a little bit difficult, but not too much. So I'm somebody who used to do corporate training for a living. I did virtual classes all the time. Doing something live on LinkedIn where I don't have people I can see and talk to and create a discussion is a stretch for me. But I have taught this topic a million times. It's the kind of thing I love to like tell people about at brunch. Um, so it's a stretch, but not too far. You also want to look for something that's low stakes. This is not some sort of high converting webinar where I'm going to sell you a coaching program. And if I don't, there's no one who signs up for it, et cetera. This is just me trying something new that I really enjoy for the first time. If it's a total and complete failure, fine. Um, there's nothing tied to it other than me doing this one thing. Whatever you're doing to get into your growth zone should be safe. Um, Safe in terms of, like think your physical safety. Like I actually did turn the wrong way out of the grocery store parking lot yesterday and decided not to turn around because that was a construction zone. Um, Driving through a construction zone would not have been safe. The way I turned um, was very low risk because I kind of knew the area. I wasn't too far from home. So safe physically, safe psychologically, and then supported. So I think having a structure around you, having a community around you, having people to work with is really important when you're doing something where you're learning. So there's this, I don't have a slide for this, but this is one of my favorite things to nerd out over. So, like, get ready, y'all. Um, there's this theory called the secure base, and it actually comes from, I think it was developed by social workers in the UK. But the idea is that you need a secure base, you need a person to rely on to help support you as you go out and do new things. So, this is think your best friend, your partner, your team at work can be the secure base too, where they encourage you, they accept you, and when you go out and try something new, they will support you, they will cheer you on, they will give you feedback if you want it. But if you have to run back to the secure base because you're scared or you're tired or it went wrong in some way, they're still going to be there and support you. So, those are just kind of some examples of how you can get into your growth zone. And I think something that I may not have properly covered before, but just really want to emphasize is the idea that if you select an activity, doing a live, taking a different route home from the grocery store, trying a new hobby, whatever it is, and deliberately use it as a way to get into the growth zone, come home, come back to the comfort zone, um, you integrate that lesson. So actually, this comfort zone here, I don't I'm sort of gesturing with my hands, right, with my mouth. I don't know if you can see it, but your comfort zone is expanding. Your growth zone is expanding. Hopefully, your panic zone's getting a little bit smaller, but it's 2025. Who knows? So, um, so that's it. So let's just kind of recap what we have talked about today. There are many different kinds of stress. Some are things that you can cope with and get through with some effort. Those are kind of the um, hard days, but you see an end to it. So that could be something like, a short-term illness, a job loss, that kind of thing. There are things that are big toxic stresses that can kind of really kind of upset your life and overwhelm your abilities to cope. Those are the things that will put you into your panic zone. But there is also good stress, and those are the small, nervous, exciting experiences that help you learn and grow. There are many things that are important about this. There's recognizing that some stress can be good in the first place. There's using that feeling of nervousness and excitement to help you do something new and different. But you can also put yourself intentionally into these situations so that you can learn and grow and expand your tolerance and coping skills for stressful situations in the future. We had to look at the growth zone model to really think through what this kind of looks like visually, your comfort zone, your growth zone, and your panic zone. And again, putting yourself into those little situations can help you kind of shift the balance in the future so you can better tolerate stress. So, I wanted to leave you with, I'd say it's a question, but it's also kind of a challenge. How can you get into your growth zone this week? So, I'd like to invite you to pick a small experiment. Maybe it's trying a new recipe. If anybody wants to join me in doing lives, you're totally welcome to do that. If that is a small, safe, easy experiment for you. Um, Trying a new route home, you know, trying a new sweater pattern. I'm giving all my hobbies, right? But once you think about this good stress and you look around, it is kind of everywhere. So choose something that is meaningful to you, that would be exciting if it goes right, and make a plan to do it. And if you would like, you can drop it in the comments on the live. If you really want some coaching support with it, feel free to DM me your idea. And I'm happy to kind of help support you, answer questions as you do it. But just take a minute, gonna have another sip of coffee. Think about how you can get into your growth zone this week and what support you need to be able to do it. So, something I think I hadn't properly considered about good stress before this particular moment is the sense of relief when the thing is finally over. You can exhale, you can drink your coffee. You have survived the stressful moment and come out the other side, hopefully a little bit stronger, hopefully a little bit more ready for the next time you do this and having learned something. So, thank you so much for being here and for joining me, for letting me talk about a topic that I'm really excited about, and for coming with me on this journey that was both nerve wracking, exciting, hopefully not too awkward. Um, so, thank you for being here. The intention is to do this every week on Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. I and to do it through the end of the year. Um, I'm making the assumption that it will be helpful for somebody, and if nothing else, it gives me the chance to talk at y'all for half an hour about something I get a little too excited about. So, my husband doesn't have to hear me talk about these things anymore, right? Um, So I will be here on Thursday next week at 1 o'clock Central. I believe our topic for next week, I'm calling it All the Feels, and it is how emotions work, um, recognizing emotions, kind of the importance of emotions, and some tools to help you pinpoint the emotions that you're feeling. So that's going to be another really fun one. Um, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you. Um, you know where to find me. This is the part where I should probably launch into like I have a coaching practice, etc. You can work with me spiel, but I'm not somebody who loves watching a pitch, and I don't think you are either. But on that, since this is my first live and I am pretty convinced nobody is watching, if you have made it this far, congratulations, DM me. You are welcome to a free hour of coaching. Um, so, with that, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for watching. Um, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope to see you next week to talk about emotions, feelings, and how they work.